The meeting. The meeting starts. Yes. Now we're done.
Okay, well, good morning, everybody. Welcome. Thank you, everyone who's here for being here. Hello, Kyle. Hello, Joy. As you may have noticed in our agenda, we are having our auditor presenting our documentation for audits for 2022 today, as we normally do in April. And so as soon as we have quorum, we'll immediately move on to that. But for now, why don't we, minutes need to be voted on, so we'll skip that. And why don't we do financials? Does anyone have any questions about financials for 2022? We don't have financials yet for this year. However, I don't think I've ever shared with you the financials through the entire year of 2022, because last time we met, we only had through November. So now we have through December, and that's what I've shared with you. So if you could review those, or if you have already reviewed them, if you have any questions, please let me know, or comments. Now's the time. No questions?
It looks like we didn't use all of our holiday decoration money.
Oh, yes.
I think some of it gets paid in January and it gets accrued to December. Because when we pay the last installment after they remove the holiday decorations.
Yeah.
Would that still show up for like the same for last year though, for 2022, show up in January for 2022 for the decorations from 21, I'm guessing, right?
I want to say yes, but I'm not sure if I understood. So when we paid in January of 2021, it would have showed up in 2020. When we paid in January of 2022, it would have showed up in 2021. So that's what you're saying, Wally? So yes, that's correct.
But this should still show two different payments, basically, right? Every single year.
Three. We do one. Yeah, we do one in advance, one after they're installed, and one after it comes down, right, Caroline?
Cool.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just it's showing for our budget was 40,000, and I want to make sure we're using it all, so we're not sitting around on extra money that we're not using.
Yeah,
and then getting less money next.
Yeah, and just one more thing, Wally. So we won't get less money. That's not an issue. But one more thing, the numbers that you have in front of you are probably different than what you're going to see in the audit, because the audit was Ron revised those numbers in March to send them to Joy for the audit. So anything that was accrued in January or February for 2022 is in Joy's numbers, but not in what Carolina shared with you. Does that make sense?
Yep. Thank you.
Where are these documents at? I don't see them. I didn't get sent any of these.
I can share them with you, Kyle.
Thank you.
Or Kyle, you'll see the financials when Joy goes through the audit too. Because the financial statement.
I'd like to look at it. I'd like to look at it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
What Carolina shared, Kyle, just so you know, what Carolina shared wasn't the final. Just so you know.
I just wanted to share something, I guess.
Well, it was the final at that point in time, right?
Yeah.
And the end of the year, beginning of the year is always a little bit funky with the accruing of the months, money and all that stuff.
All right. It's 9/11, Sandy, and people aren't showing up. I don't
You have other
think
stuff on your agenda.
Yeah, I can continue. I'm just scared. I don't want to keep Joy,
Oh, you're fine. I'm playing around. I'm listening. And yes, there was a extra accrual I was just trying to look for my trial balance to tell you how much more was put in holiday.
Okay, so if I just want to make sure there aren't any other questions for financials before I move on. No? Okay. So then I'll just move on to my SSA manager's report. The first thing on the list is the Glenwood Sunday Market. The first thing I want to mention about that is that we did receive a proposal from one of the business owners on the footprint of the alfresco on Glenwood, where the Glenwood Sunday Market usually happens, asking that we move the market this year from its current location to the other side of the CTH tracks, which would be Glenwood between Morse and Lunt, northbound. And that has kind of been an ordeal. However, we did some research because the proposal had a bullet pointed list of reasons why they think it would be a good idea. And so we kind of responded to that proposal with a bulleted list of why it's just absolutely not going to work for the market this year. And one of the most important reasons for that is that the Glenwood Sunday Market Council did meet to what's the word I'm looking for, to consider the idea. But after their conversation, they unanimously voted against the proposal so that the market continues to be in its usual location on the southbound Glenwood, where the alfresco is. So just kind of wanted to let you know that that's out there. I know this business owner has shared his proposal with various people, so you may have already heard about this. So letting you know. And then please stop me if you have any questions as I'm speaking. The Glenwood Sunday Market is going to continue its season starting in June 4th this year. So I'm letting you know about the dates now so that you are aware and perhaps can stop by for opening day on June 4th, maybe around 8:50 something. The season's going to go all the way through October 28th this year, which is I think it's a little bit after what we normally do. We usually probably end the third week of October, but we're going to another week this year. We have 23 vendors approved so far. We had 21 vendors approved in 2022. And then this year, since the Loyola Farmers Market is no longer gonna be a vendor, we did have some extra spaces. So we have 3 new vendors this year, including a coffee vendor. So we're very excited about that. Is there any questions? Okay, great. I have to go back to my agenda. This is hard to do because I had to look at your faces. Oh, wait, I can share screen now. I can do that. Let me do that. Okay. The next thing on our agenda is public art. I just want to update you that we are doing a mural on the wall that's adjacent to Wild Onion that is on the building where Rogers Park Furniture is on Clark Street. It's not going to be a Wild Onion mural. It's going to be a Vision Clark Street mural. So that means we're going to follow the process that we normally follow, which is that we put an RFP out. We are asking for preference to artists who are local and artists who are hopefully artists who represent the demographic on Clark Street. So the RFP is going to be going out, I want to say maybe next week. It'll be out for a month, and then we'll create a little committee. So if anyone's interested in being part of that committee for choosing which mural design, please reach out to me and let me know so that we can include you. And one last thing I want to say about that is that the mural RFP does ask artists to include elements from the Vision Clark Street brand standards. So, you know, the goal is to have some sort of like motif or some sort of consistency with the art that is on Clark Street, since we have a brand standards document. And then the Glenwood al fresco, I already told you about Chad's proposal. And then we are planning a check-in meeting with all the business owners, the Alderwoman's office, and RPBA to check in about how things are going to work for 2023 hot weather season. And we are hoping for more community involvement this year. I'm going to put my best foot forward on that. We really want to make sure that the community is using the public space. So
That's wonderful. Actually, is there a way that the RPPA could, once things start coming together, put together some kind of calendar so that other businesses nearby can access it, so that everyone knows what's going on?
Yes, Wally. Actually, we do have that. We have a calendar, excuse me, in our website where people can see what's going on and what's available. And then the form people fill out in order to use the space. So one of the things that I want to do better this year is I want to make sure people like you know that that exists. So
appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. As far as the people spot goes, we are going to put it this year in front of Honey Bear on the Greenleaf side, right in front of the mural. We wanted to put it in front of the Honey Bear on Clark Street, but CDOT is telling us that's not possible because of some traffic issues and street signs and stuff like that. So we are going to do it on Greenleaf. So that's exciting because I think Honey Bear is going to make really great use of it. And the next thing is the Clark Lunch Dispensary. Many of you, or most of you, I'm sure, have heard about this already. There is a company called Perception Cannabis Dispensary who is looking to open a dispensary at 7000 North Clark, which is where the PLS was on the corner of Clark and Lund. It is a social equity. And some of the facts I know is that the CEOs are Rogers Parker, and it's a majority Black owned business. I do want to let you know that we are working with the business that is next door to that location where it's called the Lawn Tire Auto. They are being asked to move their business so that the cannabis or the dispensary can have parking as part of their proposal, so that they can get their special use permit. Am I correct in saying all that, Sandy? Yes, okay. Lunt Tire has expressed some concern about this. He feels upset. He doesn't feel like he was morally treated well. Just so you know, he had a 10-year lease with the owner of the property. However, after 5 years, there is a clause in the lease that says that if you don't let the property owner know after 5 years that you want to continue your lease for another 5 years, then you automatically are a month to month. And he didn't know that, or he didn't read that part of his lease. And so now they're asking him to move his business. And according to the lease, the property owner has the right to ask him for that. However, he doesn't feel like he was treated morally correct, I guess. There has been some controversy amongst social media about this. So I want to let you know that that's happening, and I want to let you know that we are working with him to help him as much as we can to either find him a new location or try to see if there are any grants available for him so that he could figure out how to make this abrupt move that he wasn't planning on making after having been open for 5 years and having had such a hard time accumulating accruing his clientele. So that's what's happening. Any questions on that? And then I just want to check in about Sandy and Joy. Keep going.
Yeah.
Okay. And then just another point of information is that there is another dispensary that is proposing to open on Clark Street. However, it's not in the SSA, but it is on a commercial corridor. So I thought I would just kind of keep you updated on that. And that is Zen Leaf. So this is a bigger company, and they are trying to open at the old Hop House over by Clark and Howard in the Gateway Center. The dispensary has outgrown its location in Rogers Park and has been searching for a new storefront in Rogers Park that would allow more space to accommodate its customers. So I believe that there was, I mean, I don't believe, I know that there were 2 community meetings already, one for both the dispensary over by Clark and Lunt, and then the one over by where Hop House it was. And there were surveys put out by the alderwoman to gather a feedback and input from the community about these 2 businesses. So that's that. And as far as the shelter at Birchwood, I do have the information that they have raised some money from the city or received some money from the city, which means they'll be able to own their space moving forward. I don't, however, have any updates on construction dates. I'm not sure. Since Kyle's here, I'm going to take the opportunity to ask you, Kyle, do you know any further information about the shelter at Birchwood that you could share with the commission?
They're looking at a June construction date start, but it's not confirmed yet.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you, Kyle.
You're welcome.
Okay, and then railing spikes. So the update on that is if you remember last year, we had a meeting with all the business owners within the Morse and Glenwood intersection who were concerned about safety and loitering happening around their business. And one of the takeaways from that meeting was that they would like to do an alternative or some sort of solution for the problem that exists where people who like to drink and loiter and cause ruckus, they like to sit on the railings on the plant beds that are adjacent to their businesses. So in order to address that situation, someone suggested, why don't we put some spikes on there so it doesn't make it comfortable for people to sit there? I need a phone number. I cannot connect via Zoom. Oh, that's Roberto. Okay. So can I take a pause to do that? Give me 1 second.
I can do that. Tell him to check his email.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Check email. Thank you, Sandy.
Although there's, you know what, there's no phone number in the calendar invite.
Ah.
All right.
Okay, so then I'll have to deal with this. Just give me a second, everybody. I'm sorry this meeting is such a mess. Why doesn't it show? Telephone and computer audio. It doesn't show in Zoom. It's not letting me.
You should be able to join with the link on his phone. Even if we can't see him, you should still be able to use that link. Click on the little pages next to the link, Carolina, where it says
Oh,
invite link.
Alicia's here. Click on
What?
the what?
The little pages next to the invite link. Those two little black things. Yeah.
Invite link.
Up, no, up. Yeah. Oh, that's just a copy of the link itself.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know why it's not letting me see the phone number. So there is no number, only Zoom link, is he saying. I'm sorry, I can't, I'm sorry. I can't figure it out. Well, Alasia's here. Does that change things? Hi, Alasia.
Hello,
how
I'm
many-
so
I don't know
sorry,
how
I
many you need.
forgot.
Oh, you know what? I'm gonna have Roberto be on the phone and put him on speaker, okay? That is perfect.
Hello?
Hey, how are you?
Good. For some reason, I don't have internet connection on my cell phone, and my computer at work doesn't allow me to use Zoom. So
Okay.
it's like, where's the number so I can dial in, you know?
Okay, I got you on speaker, so
Okay.
we're gonna move forward now with the audit presentation and pause the SSA manager's report. All right, we're all here now, Joy. Thank you, everybody, for your patience. And I'm gonna stop sharing. And we can't hear you, Joy.
There we go. Okay, I'm just gonna share. Okay, so can everybody see that except for the person on the phone?
Yes.
Okay, great. So my name is Joy Coombs, and I work with audit firm called Almanza & Coombs. And we performed that audit on Special Service Area 24. And this is the draft, which I do not foresee any changes except for maybe a misspelled word or a period or something like that. So we're just going to kind of go through the pages. and I'll try to make it brief and understandable for the person on the phone. Just index. So most of the stuff you've seen in the past. If not, you can feel free to ask Sandy or Carolina, and they can give you my phone number or my email, and I can reach out and we can go through it in much more detail. The most important page is this page 3. This is our opinion. So basically, it just says in a lot of words that we believe that we were provided enough information to be able to obtain or develop an opinion on the financial statements, and that we felt that nothing in the financial statements would be misleading to the user. Basically, they look good, thumbs up. So all this page 1, page 2, that's all what that says. It says what I'm going to do, what you're going to do. And then once we finalize the audit, I prefer to finalize closer to the end, like around the 25th of April, just in case the city decides to, well, change something, not more like, hey, we want to add a blank page in here or something like that. Nothing to the numbers or the financial statements themselves. So once we finalize, you'll see the signature on page 2, and the draft mark will be removed. But otherwise, nothing should change. Okay, so there is one adjustment that was probably not made very, very clear if anyone was in attendance to that meeting in February, I think 7th, with the city's auditor. And I'll make that kind of clear now. What they said in that, this has to do with the late collection, I would call it late collection delay in the 2021 levy being collected in 2022. What you'll notice, which you can't on the phone, but the property tax receivable is a much higher number. It's $85,000 higher, and I'll tell you how that affects you. What it affects you is that the property tax revenue here at 878 is $84,000 higher than what you actually collected in 2022. So what the rule is, and it's kind of it's a property tax reporting CPA/City of Chicago audit rule, where if property taxes are received in the first 60 days of the subsequent year, so in 2023, so any collections that were received in January and February of 2023 are really deemed to have been revenue in 2022. So what we do is we put the revenue back in 2022. So then it makes your comparison a little easier. It's basically saying, everybody pretend like we collected that money in 2022. And that's kind of what this is reporting. So if you were to compare this to what Carolina probably presented for the December preliminary, the revenues are $84,000 higher. You probably say, what's the $84,000? The $84,000 is, if you just looked at what was collected by SSA 24 from the property taxes, that was the $84,000. So it increases the revenue and it flows through. So what it does, though, is it does increase your carryover, which, yes, is a finding. But it would have been a finding either way. You're still carrying in excess of the 25%, which I think is going to be a finding for many of the SSAs this year, as some of the SSAs decided to, instead of going out and trying to, get a loan, or instead of the service provider lending them money to continue services or continue with projects or new projects, it looks like what you guys may have done is, well, actually your spending is still pretty high, 325. So it doesn't look like you did that. So long story short is your carryover is in excess of the 25%. So what the rule is, if your carryover, which is this $300,000 number, on page 4. If that number is greater than 25% of the total budget, so I'm going to jump all the way over to total budget. I think it was like 463. Yeah, 463, which it is. Obviously, 300 as a percentage of 400 is I believe it's like 65%. I wouldn't worry about that finding. I will tell you one other thing that changed that Mark Roche in his city told me is that this year, what happens is this, we present the audit, you guys vote in the audit, like, yeah, that looks about what we thought. And so what I'm doing is I'm pointing out what are the things that you wouldn't have came across, and that's that $84,000. So I did list it as a finding, meaning yes, they are carrying over subsequent, they are carrying over in excess, finding 65% of the total budget. But however, I did kind of put the caveat in here, like, hey, it's because you delayed their collection of this $84,000 that bumped up that carryover from 47% to 65%. So it didn't help, right? Because my theory is, yeah, that's great. You want us to spend the money, but we don't have the money to spend. So it was kind of like, so they want you to accrue it back, which is what we did. We put it in 2022, but it doesn't help what you're spending because you still didn't have that money. That's the long story. So the long story short is, yes, it's going to be a finding. The thing I didn't tell you was the second thing that was kind of new for reporting this year is that once we present the audit and you guys upload it to the city, then their auditors review them all. And typically in the years past, they kick out a letter that's called like comments to the auditor, or it's their desk review or something like that. And these letters that they send out come from, I believe they do come from the city of Chicago, but the audits are all reviewed by their auditor. And one thing they pointed out was that this year they're not going to send those letters out automatically to the alderman. And that's what I would be more like, like, we have this finding, Joy, but in a way I'm like, well, no big deal in a way, because they're not going to be thrown in front of the alderman, and the alderman's not going to be like, what does this mean? And blow it out of proportion. So that's kind of the long story. Now, will they ever get a letter? I don't know if they're saying they will never get a letter, or if they're just not going to get a letter this year. So if ever to have the finding, it would be this year, because the alderman's office is not going to be automatically copied on these city review letters. I know it's a lot of information, but I just wanted to point out that, because you might be like, why do we have so much money now all of a sudden? Well, it's not the cash you have, it's the revenue. So I know, shell game, right? So that's the one finding, and that's the one item that would be dramatically different from the financials that Carolina had versus this. Although like Sandy and Carolina were talking about the holiday, they're right. I can present the, let's see, I have the trial balance, not that it matters, but because the way I present these audits, let's just show you 2022 here is, this is the revenue, and this is the spend, 325. So included in this customer attraction is that extra holiday decor. So you're kind of like, well, it's kind of buried. So let me just pull up the, I have it here. I just had it out. Let me see if I can find it now. Hopefully I didn't close that. Oh, wait. Here it is. I don't know if you can see, let's see, no, it's the same one. Okay, let's just say new share. Okay, here we go. Okay, so this is basically, this is what you would see, right? These two columns here are like your financials. And so if you wanted to see holiday decor ends up being at 27,000. But I will tell you, in that 27,000, there are 3 payments to your decor vendor, so it's in there. So if I go back to my financials, what I wanted to point out was that yes, you are, it's rolled up in this 74, and yes, you are under budget, but the way the auditor and the city looks at it, they look at it actual versus the combined category. So they're not looking at it granularly line by line. So if you wanted to know, like, what did we add to our carryover this year? The budget was budgeted to basically lose 60 because you had 60,000 of carryover, but we actually underspent 62. So we actually kind of, in theory, added to our carryover. Not necessarily 123,000, more like 60,000. But I think you're going to see that a lot across most of the SSAs, as they may have been apprehensive to spend, not feeling comfortable as to when that last installment was going to come, and that last installment being that 84,000. The only other finding was this tiny little thing. I know they don't beat you up about all the money you have. They beat you up about the fact that you overspent $301. I wouldn't worry about that either, because, you know, in the grand scheme of things, you know, you're still in good shape. So what we are required to do is reporting findings. So my one finding was, hey, that one category was over, big deal, and that we are carrying over excess funds to the tune of 65%, which again, I wouldn't worry about. But when I stripped that 65 out, we're still carrying over 47%, sorry. So what might help in this, and I don't know, 6 of one, 6 of another, right? Is like, is there a plan to spend that excess carryover? Was it being carried over for a particular purpose? So that would be something that either Caroline or Sandy would let me know, you know, like, oh yeah, we're carrying it over for whatever. Any comments to that?
Bikes on fencing. Carolyn didn't get to finish talking about it.
Or holiday decorations.
Holiday decorations. Yeah, we're actually looking to purchase stuff this year.
Oh, you're looking to purchase holiday decor instead of rent.
Yes.
Right.
Okay, so
Yes.
yeah, so that's a huge, yes, that's a huge, so I'll add that to this response, because that's a big expense. And that's what I would typically, I would expect whenever an SSA is carrying over excess funds. It's usually they're planning for a big expenditure that it's going to take them a couple of years to accumulate the funds and then go ahead and spend it. So I'll add that to this. So if we roll back, all this other stuff, I'll just kind of point out highlights real quick. Rolling back, don't get dizzy. This first page here, first statement is financial statement of net position. Really, that's just kind of like your checkbook. So you ended the year with $229,000, and less this 19,000 of debt payables, just timing. It's not like you're carrying a loan or anything. That is about 200,000. So on a cash basis, you're really carrying over about 200,000 of funds, because that 84,000 doesn't come into cash until 2023, even though you have to pick it up as revenue. So if you wanted to ask me, like, what should we put on our 2023 budget? If you wanted to amend it, you could. I would probably leave it. You would change your carryover number in your 2023 budget to 200,000. The reason why I say you don't have to is because if you don't foresee spending in excess of your 2023 budget, then there's no reason to increase that carryover. If you're gonna struggle to spend the entire budget anyway, then why go through the jumping of the hoops to do that? You can just kind of roll it in. What I usually say is kind of skip 23 and roll it into 24's budget that you'll do in in June June of 23. So the only thing you want to keep in mind is one thing is like, hey, we have these excess funds. Do we think we're going to spend that excess in 23? If yes, then I would probably use your normal carryover. Most SSAs will, do something like 3 months of operating or something, to put in their carryover, and they leave that as a static number. But if you're like, no, I don't think we're going to be able to get the holiday decorations ordered, or the manufacturer's back, they don't have any, whatever, you may come across some obstacles that are not going to allow you to expend those funds. And if that's the case, then we'll know that we need to roll them into 24 the budget, if that makes sense. I'm kind of talking a lot, but you kind of know what I'm saying. What I'm saying is keep your eye on the ball with that excess. If you feel like you're not going to buy the holiday decor, then when you do your 24 budget, you may want to pop up your carryover number some, but only if you think you're going to expend more than the budget numbers. So, but I can always help you with that. So long story short is you're in good shape. And I would have rather, like if I were you, I would have rather have had this problem versus the other side of to have to take on debt, meaning the service provider has to take on debt. And now a lot of the SSAs don't really know how to handle that with their books. They have debt over here, but the SSA is paying interest. It's just, you're better off being this way, where you just held some of the reserves and just carry them into the next year, instead of expending every last dollar. So that's kind of what all this page means. This balance sheet's like, hey, you had 229,000 of unencumbered cash available. And then minus these little payables is about 200,000. So I do have one question real quick is, so your reconstitution is 2024, but you're trying to do early 2023, or was it 2022 and you're going to run?
It was 2023. We did it in 2022.
Okay, so you're all ready. So your
done.
number, so everything, so it's extended or renewed, I should say. Okay, great. The only reason why I say that is because there's this little bit of TIF money left. And I don't really know if that's really going to come. I mean, if it extended, then it should come. But if it doesn't come, we'll just write it off next year. What it is that the city tells you what TIF money you're going to get. And then what they tell you you're going to get, you do get, but then there's along the way, there's more TIF money being awarded. So there was some more TIF money that they awarded that you haven't seen yet, that you'll probably see in 23, but just a minor amount, probably just the end of it. So I'll just monitor that, like if with Ron, and if it stays out there, then we just write it off in 23. It's not a big deal. So let's see. So if I go on to the next page is like your income statement. Think of it that way. It's total revenues, property taxes received plus TIF. Here's the extra TIF monies. This TIF monies was reflective on the treasurer's report. And what the treasurer's report does is they reflect it a little bit earlier than what you receive it. The treasurer's report was saying that there are another 10,000 that you'll be awarded, less the payments you received. So, and that nets out to the 2. That's why you're like, how do I go from 10 to 2? Well, you did get some of it. Okay, so we had $387,000 of property tax revenue earned, not received, because we didn't get the 84 until 23. We expended $325,000, adding to our carryover for $62,000. That's kind of what that says is, and then accrual basis carryover is 300,000, cash basis is 200. We kind of walked through that. That difference is that 84,000 flipping between the 2 years. Then the rest of these pages are notes to the audits. The only thing I'm going to probably update a little bit in this first one, nature of reporting entity, is just that your SSA was renewed for 15 years, or is it 10 years?
15.
15. Okay, 15 years. Renewal. Okay,
And,
so I'm just,
and expanded, Joy,
oh,
it was
and it expanded.
expanded.
Okay, so well, that's interesting. You'd probably have to explain that to me how they did it. So they renewed it and expanded it. So you're not getting a new number. No, not even a
No,
dash.
No, everything stays the same. It just expanded a couple blocks up Clark Street to Devon on the west side of the street.
Okay.
So it wasn't a huge expansion, but
Okay.
yeah. And Caroline, I can send you a new map if that. I don't know
Yeah,
if that's-
that's awesome. So I'll probably add the streets in here. And it's not, you know, quite frankly, I hate to say this, who reads these, but there are some people that read them, but what I would be looking for if I was a layperson, I would be looking to see that it was renewed. Okay, so then most of these other pages are a lot of jargon about the basis of accounting used. It's just a little different because it's property taxes, so I wouldn't get hung up on all this verbiage. You can read it if you want. That we did look at everything up through today. All right, this is just about that we sometimes carry excess funds over 250. Doesn't matter. That's more for banking insurance purposes. You're not carrying over 250. So we just say if it did, then we feel that our bank is secure. And I'll bet that this is a note that the auditors are going to be looking to make sure is in there with the banking crisis. So then the notes continue. We talk about how the property taxes are levied, how they're received. Let's talk about this. I find a typo right here. We talk about the TIF rebate, you know, that it was 69.29. We received 14,000. We're going to get 10 more, blah, blah, blah. And then it does talk about the fund balance, which is your carryover for accrual basis. It talks about related parties that Dev Corp or Rogers Park Alliance is managing multiple SSAs. So we have to disclose that. And we disclose that there's these itty bitty do froms between them. So we disclose that. And the only note I was thinking about removing is this COVID one, but I think I'm going to leave it on for one more year, just saying that there's still potential effect on these financials. Because I was thinking like you guys probably haven't had all, I don't know, maybe you have, maybe you've put back all of your events and maybe everything is back to where it was before COVID. If that's the case, we can remove it, but it doesn't hurt to leave this in for one more year. So we just left it. And then the subsequent is just actual versus budget. So this shows you what the total budget was. The total budget was 463. That's this number here. We were budgeted to spend 463,000. We spent 325,000. But you will notice that we were a little shy of our collections, 10,000, which is, a very minimal. I believe it's like under 3%, something like that. So it's not something alarming, right? So, and then here's the TIF. This is what the city said you would get. You did get that. This is what you will be earning. So that's reported there. And so in the budget, you were actually budgeted to kind of reduce your carryover by the 60, but instead of reducing it, we increased it because we didn't spend a big piece of the money, which it looks like most of it is between customer attraction and public way aesthetics. So I'm not sure why. I would assume that that's because you were not quite back in full swing with your litter, or maybe you changed litter or snow removal or decor, or maybe you changed vendors and they were more economical. That might be something you discuss with the commission, like as to why we didn't spend these funds. But long story short is I know it takes time to spend money. So it's double-edged sword. Okay, so then we're required to report 2021. So then we disclose 2021 actual versus budget. Then the next page is just the findings. Like I pointed out, there were just 2 findings. One is the excess carryover, and one was that one item, the sustainability in public ways, that was over budget. Then we are also required to report on the current, actually, this is a typo. Should be prior year findings. The prior year findings, we just have to just cut and paste them back in there so they can see that we did have a prior year finding, which was the same. Carryover was just, I believe it's just shy of 25% at that point. And then this is where I need to slap my license in, which I'm trying to get from Illinois Department of Finance, but they seem to be months and months and months behind. But I anticipate having that before the final needs to be implemented. Then I don't know why this page is so huge. I have to figure that. But this is the last requirement is we have to disclose the actual budget as part of the audit. And this was the actual budget. And correct me if I'm wrong, but there were no revisions or modifications to this original budget. Yeah, that's what I thought. So this is correct. And that's it. That's the whole audit in a nutshell. Any recommendations? No, I think everything was good. I think that Ron and the accounting they're catching all of the accruals, meaning they're catching all the expenditures, the services that were rendered in that year, and he's reporting them. And so that's why you can start to see how it'll start to build like a historical, you can go from year to year. If you look at 21, 22, you start to see continuity between the 2 years. But that's it. Any questions? I know you're like, stop talking.
Thank you, Joy. That
Sure,
was
no
really
worries.
well done. I really appreciate that you explained
Sure,
it
and
well.
like I said, if you look at it later, it is confusing because we do pick up the levy and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, the things you need to remember is that we carried over about 200,000 in cash to January 1st of 23, and I'm sure you guys are working your way through all that money already. So, and that everything looks good.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
So, all right.
Any questions while we have Joy?
They're all sleeping now.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you, Joy. Have a
Okay.
great
Thank
day.
you. All right. You too. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
So assuming that we don't have anything to discuss about this, do we want to move?
Make a motion to approve the audit. I think is what he's gonna say.
That's,
I make a motion or second that, whichever is needed.
Okay, Nick, your motion? Second, Alicia,
Second. Motion.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Awesome. Thank you. And can I also get a motion to approve the minutes?
I motion.
Thank you.
I second.
Lorenzo. Thank you, Nick. Okay. Then let's move on. As I was saying, I was talking about the spikes, right? Yes. So the business owners want spikes on the plant bed railings, and we reached out to the Chicago Department of Transportation, who is responsible for making those adjustments, and they sent us a quote for what this would cost, and it is going to be $12,000 to $15,000 for the spikes. Plus, they said that there's some plant bed railings that need improvements made in general, and so that would be an additional $3,000. So I'm going to say, let's say it's going to cost us $18,000 to make this change.
well, it seems like we have a lot of money we have to blow through. So
So, yeah, I just wanted to get permission from the commission to spend this, to make this expenditure. Is everybody okay with that? Nick,
Yeah, I'm good with that.
I think you need a motion, Carolina,
do I?
for $20,000. Yeah, you need a motion.
Oh, okay.
Motion to approve.
There you go.
I second.
Roberto seconds. Okay, thank you guys. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nick?
Aye.
Okay, sweet. And then holiday decorations, there's gonna be another expenditure this year that that is gonna be a little larger than usual. As I mentioned before, we are going to buy our holiday decorations so that we don't have to rent them every year. They're going to be metal. I don't know the exact name of the product, but it is more permanent and it is sort of type of metal. They're gonna be snowflakes. I wanted to see, these are the colors that they're suggest that they have offered us for the snowflakes, and I want to go for blue. That's what I want though. I don't know if everyone's okay with that.
I like it.
Okay, great. If Nick likes it and I like it, we're good to go. And then
Carolina, have you thought about how the blue will look with the Clark Street banners? Because you do have brand standards on for the Clark Street poles.
yeah, but these are holiday decorations.
I know.
But yeah, I mean, it'll look fine.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the other options are gray. You know?
Carolina,
Yeah,
I'm assuming you guys have the space to store all these?
we're gonna have to find a space to store them, yeah.
So you don't have a space to store these? How many are we looking at? How many are we looking at first?
99.
99.
No, sorry. 180 or something like that.
How big are they?
I can tell you right now, if you give me a second.
I'm just saying, like, if they're like, you know, they're 3 feet by like 3 feet and there's almost 200 of them, that's a lot of space you're gonna need.
Yeah, we're gonna have to work with either Illuminite or the company we're purchasing them from. Who did this with Wicker Park. They have a space.
Okay. I just don't want us to order 200 snowflakes and then not know what to do with them.
Oh, no, I would,
Okay.
thank you though. Thank you for that reminder. Where are the shapes? Oh, these are the shapes. How do we feel about these shapes? Do you guys care? Should I choose myself? Okay, I'll choose myself.
Yeah, it doesn't matter to me.
Okay, cool. All right, then let's move on to the next thing, which is RPBA updates. I'll move really quickly since we're already at 10:06. Grow, Progresando, our entrepreneurial training programs are moving forward with their next session this year. It's going to be a 10-week program, one in English and one in Spanish. They're both basic. They're both actually on the same day of the week for 10 weeks, starting April 12th through June 14th. So if anybody knows anyone who's interested or has an idea for a business and doesn't know how to run a business, please send them our way. This is a free program, so you don't have to pay to take this course, and it's a really good course or training, whatever. I do want to let you know that Howard Street, the SSA, is working with a consultant to do a master plan similar to the one we did on Clark Street. They're working with Muse, that's the name of their consultant, as where they are now is that they are trying to plan community workshops. The first one will be on April 22nd at Willie White Park from 10 to noon. And they will also have an survey online. This is just kind of like, I guess, the consultants effort to start gathering information about what the community thinks of Howard Street. And then BAT, which is the program where we match business owners with consultants for free. And these are for business owners who are BIPOC, is going to be, we have received more funding from Fifth Third Bank, I believe. And so we will be able to work, move forward with this program. So anybody knows a business who's needs any assistance or needs to be hooked up with any type of consulting, let us know. The new businesses on Clark Street are on SSA 24 are the Boho Barbican antique shop or whatever it's called. And that is on Greenleaf. It is the business where Burgoo used to be. They've just changed owners and they've also changed their product. So, and then we have the St. Ignatian Food Pantry that's literally across the street from Boho. And we did do some ribbon cuttings Monday, to welcome all the new businesses for the first quarter. So that was fun. And then what's happening on Devon, Rogers Park Business Alliance and the SSA 43 have installed these like models of tuk-tuks all along Devon. There's 10 of them. And, you know, they're creating a great buzz. So they're bringing people to the neighborhood. And that's all I have. Any old business or new business? Or questions or comments?
I just actually did want to say something really quickly. I know that it sounded like during our the audit that like we have a ton of money right now that we need to start spending more of, and there's a reason for that. And when I first started the SSA, we were in the red like pretty bad, and so we're finally in the black now, and we're in the black pretty well. So this is now an opportunity for us to look for the programs that we may have had to trim in the past, like snow plowing and stuff like that. So that's just things that we should keep in mind, that there's a reason that we're as flush as we are. It's because we were so cautious for so long.
Yes, Wally, thank you so much for saying that. That is definitely something to keep in mind. Anything else? Are we okay to end?
Yep. If someone wants to move to adjourn, please.
I move that we adjourn.
At 10:10, thank you. Elijah, any seconds?
Somebody second.
I'll second.
Okay. We can adjourn.
Excellent. I'm glad we had enough people to adjourn, because the action was to start the meeting, but we couldn't adjourn without quorum. So this would have
Yeah.
been the longest meeting ever.
Thank you so much for joining us, Elijah and Roberto and everyone else. Have a great rest of your day and enjoy the weather this weekend.
Bye all.
You
Have a
too.
great day.
Take care, everyone.
Bye bye. Bye, Roberto.
You have a minute?
Yeah, I do. What's up?